Peak Files.
Welcome to Peak Files, the series where we examine video games influenced by Twin Peaks and David Lynch.
Join us for pie!
In today's episode, we have Harvester, a game directed by Gilbert P. Austin, the David Lynch of Electronic Games, if Electronic Games magazine is to be believed. First shown off at the Consumer Electronics Show in 1994, and after a lengthy gestation period was finally released in 1996, Harvester seemed to have been created to court controversy and destined to have a cult following. Thankfully, the die-hard fans of the game can distinguish reality from fiction and never tried to reenact any of the initiation rites of the in-game cult.
The Order of the Harvest Moon, your final assignment is to set a fire in DNA's diner and let the French fry.
And this seems to prove Director Austin's point that video game violence censorship is unnecessary, or perhaps that not enough people played Harvester for its not-so-subliminal message to find a suitable host. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Why I became interested in this game was seeing it on a top 10 video games inspired by the work of David Lynch list that I scrolled by on Instagram. I'd been looking for games of this ilk many years back when I first finished Deadly Premonition and found out Mazurna Falls existed before it had a translation patch. But Harvester never came across my radar until that top 10 list. And looking at the synopsis on Wikipedia and doing a Google image search, I knew this was a game I had to play. Now, having played the game, I will share my experience and compare and contrast Harvester with David Lynch's work, so hopefully you, the viewer, will decide if its $5.99 price tag on Steam is worth it. Like Deadly Premonition and Mazurna Falls, this game takes place in a small town. Our smallest town yet in this series, as Harvest has only a population of 51. The controllable protagonist of this story is Steve Mason, who wakes up in Harvest with amnesia.
Mom's in the kitchen, and if you bug me, I'll call her.
Look, do you know me?
Wish I didn't, 'cause then you wouldn't be my brother, and I'd have your room, and all the presents at Christmas. Though I will soon enough anyway, 'cause you're a lousy rat.
Who are you?
That's a fine way to talk to your mother.
You're my mother?
That's right, though sometimes I get treated like the hired help around here.
I don't remember you.
Of course you don't, until you need your socks washed.
No, you don't understand. I can't remember where I am or even who I am.
By talking to his unfamiliar family, we piece together that A, Steve is a kidder,
Do you believe me?
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
and B, we're in the 1950s.
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve.
Becomes the convenient, memeable gaslight response to whenever Steve tries to break through the facade of Harvest.
You always were a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Maybe you need a little straightening out. Oh, the things I could do to you. You'd be a much finer young man with just a little quality time.
As with Deadly Premonition and Mazurna Falls, the most enjoyable part of the Harvester experience is just exploring the town and meeting its disturbed inhabitants.
Hello, Steve. How's the husband-to-be?
Right. And you are?
You always were a kidder, Steve. I'm Mr. Johnson, remember?
Mr. Johnson should benefit tremendously from being here among his loved ones.
Oh, we certainly hope so.
Well, she needs a good, hard penis.
You might want to childproof those electrical sockets.
This is where the David Lynch/Twin Peaks comparisons can be most clearly drawn. After leaving your house, you can visit anywhere in the town, so I, of course, chose the abandoned house nearby because that can only go well. And this turns out to be the home of the Wasp Woman. And the Wasp Woman is a great example of taking a character from Twin Peaks, the Log Lady, and dialing it up to 11. The Log Lady, while strange, is still a beloved character for her spiritual awareness, while the Wasp Woman lives in a derelict building that acts as a giant wasp nest, and waxes poetical about the unfairness that bees are seen as acceptable because they sting once, then die, versus wasps that can sting again and again and bees are viewed as productive due to producing something people want, i.e. honey, versus wasps that seem only to bring pain without pleasure.
I don't see any particular use for wasps.
Why must everything have a use? Is money always the determining factor? More slender, more aerodynamic than the bee, the wasp is a joy to behold. Beautiful and juicy.
This is the game's first hint that it wants to say something meaningful and deep. Side note, I don't think it's just because I'm in the middle of watching B-movie, but the wasp woman definitely talks like she wants to, or is, fucking those wasps. It's hard for me to tell whether it's the writing or the amateur performances that undercut the message this game is trying to get across, but the mixture of the very of-its-time digitized look and its virtual actors, and the campiness of their performances make Harvester alternatingly entertaining and disconcerting.
I'd have to say no. No, all in all, I'd say this was death by natural causes.
Natural causes?
You can't live without a spinal cord, son. Nothing unnatural about that. Think I will have some more pie.
Right away.
I can't believe this. This is horrible.
Believe me, you get to the point to where this is routine. Now the only clue we got is that card on our pillow. Take a look at it.
This is practically a confession.
Confession to what, son?
Murder. Isn't that what you're here to investigate?
Son, you don't investigate natural deaths. No point.
Then I'll get to the bottom of this myself.
Yeah. I'm sure you will.
Do you want some more pie, a whole pie?
Yes, I would, Miss Johnson, and a piece of paper and a pencil. I plan on writing an epic poem about this gorgeous pie.
The 1950s aesthetic, the small town, the little person, the wasp woman, the supernatural, the surreal, the diner, the sheriff, someone with the last name Johnson, and most obviously of all,
there is also a legend of a place called the Black Lodge, the shadow self of the White Lodge. Legend says that every spirit must pass through there on the way to perfection. Their
answers may only be found in the lodge.
Being the main driver of the plot, all point to Harvester being a Twin Peaks-inspired game. And while it obviously is, it is also lacking a lot of the qualities that make Twin Peaks so enjoyable.
Diane, 9:30 p.m. Night has fallen hard in Twin Peaks. You're not going to believe this, but I'm actually looking at the Milky Way, which I can't recall seeing before in quite this extraordinary way. The night is painted with stars.
And I'm not saying that to say that Harvester should have included the lighter aspects that make Twin Peaks feel like the ideal balance between the White Lodge and the Black Lodge, because Harvester, while crimping a fair amount of Lynch's ideas, ultimately is trying to make a very different statement. And we can't talk about the message of this game without getting into spoilers, so this is the usual time where I warn you to either play the game or accept your own culpability in being spoiled. Ready? Okay.
Invitation to love.
Gilbert P. Austin, the writer and director of this game, was trying to make a statement about one of the biggest debates about video games at the time, and still pops up about every few years in the news cycle. And this is video game violence, its effects, and whether it should be censored.
They were gunned down by 18-year-old Devin Moore, who had played Grand Theft Auto day and night for months. Attorney Jack Thompson, a longtime crusader against video game violence, is bringing the suit.
Are you saying that Devin Moore shot 3 people in the head because of a video game?
What we're saying is that Devin Moore was, in effect, trained to do what he did. He was given a murder simulator.
want an explanation.
Of course you do. There are no such things as monsters. And yet, you've killed monsters. Everything in Harvest is just slightly askew. This is because, as advanced as our technology is, we cannot make the sim any better than this. The subject's subconscious always warps it in unpredictable ways.
Sam?
A murder simulator.
This is nothing more than a virtual reality designed by the Harvesters to test potential members.
He bought it as a minor. He played it hundreds of hours. It's our theory, which we think we can prove to a jury in Alabama, that but for the video game training, he would not have done what he did.
Where are you going?
Nowhere. Nowhere at all.
What are you doing, son?
Playing Harvester.
That thing? I looked at it the other day. The very thought. Breeding serial killers. It's disgusting.
It's cool.
You'll rot your mind playing games like that. Don't you know people who watch violence become violent themselves?
That's bullshit, Mom.
No, it isn't. Why do you think they started cutting the violence out of those Roadrunner cartoons?
Roadrunner cartoons. Roadrunner cartoons?
If you play the game to completion and see its darker ending, it is plain to see Austin's view on this. The game starts with Steve doing little pranks in order to become initiated into the Order of the Harvest Moon, because this is the only way to find the truth of what is happening in Harvest, and is the only way to progress the game forward. These pranks start out innocuous enough, from petty vandalism and theft, but lead to unforeseen circumstances that make Steve responsible for arson and homicide. Then you make your way into the actual lodge. Up until this point, the game is a simple point-and-click adventure game, where most of the gameplay is exploring and puzzle solving. Not the best puzzles, mind you. Even the tutorial seems to know that the game's puzzles are so unintuitive sometimes that they recommend mixing random variables together. Once you're in the lodge, the game introduces rudimentary combat that is, how should I put this? But at this point in the game, it is nice to have something to vary up the puzzle solving, so as was true in my Deadly Premonition analysis, I think sometimes even a bad spice can improve the overall flavor when things become too stale. After fighting your way through the lodge, you make it to the end, and the truth is laid out before you. You ever seen The Matrix? Of course not. This game came out in 1996, dummy. But yeah, it's like the iconic scene where you can choose the blue pill or the red pill. This is all a simulation. Do you want to live out the rest of your virtual existence in marital bliss with the only other real person, Stephanie? Or do you agree to murder Stephanie in order to rejoin the real world? Harvest is a virtual reality simulation created to bring out the latent serial killer. The game is so forthright in its satire that it's hard to take seriously, and yet maybe that's the point.
Through the random utility of murder, and we persevere through our recruitment of initiates like yourself.
You
want me to become a serial killer.
As someone who abhors censorship, I appreciate Austin's intention. The game's gross-out 90s extreme nature goes a little too far for my taste, and might even compromise its deeper message, but I ended up really enjoying my experience with Harvester. It has something to say, the gameplay is passable, and it certainly has personality. The amenities leave something to be desired. Make sure to bring some bug spray. And don't leave your kids unattended. While Twin Peaks is the place I want to live, Harvester is a place I'd only recommend for a short weekend stay. P.S. The development of Harvester and the life after the game for the director Gilbert P. Austin are also pretty interesting. From the art style changing from hand-drawn to digitized, might have always been intended that way, but still interesting to see what it could have looked like. The programming taking 2 years, Austin cites this as a large factor for the game's poor sales performance, because games similar in edginess were able to break ground before Harvester. And Austin's disappearance from the game business after the release of the game until he was tracked down by a fan for an interview in 2013. Thanks, Arno. Check out The Harvester Show if you want to dive even deeper into Harvester than I could ever fathom. In the meantime, he wrote Hamlet Z, which from its description on Amazon sounds like Hamlet meets zombies. He also took part in Professor Griffin's Midnight Shadow Show on Time Warner Cable Channel 16, Austin, Texas, from October 2001 until 2006, as the disfigured Dan Dan, and if his stage name Gil Austin's IMDb is accurate, he was also the murder victim, David Hinkle, in the movie Sexual Boundaries, which won, and the only reviewer called, watchable soft porn. Since I'm a serious journalist, of course I tried to track down the film. At first I could only find rips that were dubbed over in Russian.
MRG Entertainment представляет Сексуальные связи. В ролях Уэнди Райс. Я готов. Кэрри Уинзер.
Обожаю это слышать.
But eventually I found the English version, and after scrubbing through the footage, I found the David Hinkle character in the only scene before the murder, and could find no likeness between the actor and the other pictures and videos of our Gilbert P. Austin. So I hate to disappoint you, but the alleged David Lynch of Electronic Games has not been in a softcore porn film, at least that I can verify.
No. Нет.
No.
Нет.
I'm so sorry.
Another interesting note, the other major force behind this game, the producer Lee Jacobson, who founded Future Vision Inc., which morphed into DigiFX Interactive, the developer of Harvester, went on to become the senior vice president for licensing and digital publishing at Atari. According to Austin, after he directed the video sequences and finished the design document in 1994, he left to work on other projects, so everything after that he put squarely on Jacobson's shoulders. For another connection to Twin Peaks, we have Michael Napadano, who did the art for the first trailer before they had digitized human performances, says the love interest was based on Shelley from Twin Peaks.
It's happy hour in France. Come on, cowboy, light your fire.
Right. This little pick-me-up before homeroom.
On the internet. But it does beg the question, you know, what it does to kids in terms of how they think about violence and sexuality, because they're, you know, engaged and blowing people away in these.
Well, I think what's interesting about this, we talk about, you know, sexuality in the media. One of the great things about Mass Effect, for people that have played it know this is a sort of a choose-your-own-adventure story, and it doesn't force you down any situation. You can actually play through this game without the sexual situation ever happening.
If you give me your soul, I let Annie live.
But Cooper, it's not a simple choice. You don't turn to the game and says, would you like to have sex or not?